continue our discussion with a painful circumstance when a woman come before the rabbinic court and claim that the husband is no longer among the living. How far you go with just taking her word for? Mishnah, page 116b on the very bottom. בית שמאי אומרים תינשא ותיטול כתובתה. So as we know, in the process of marriage, it's the commitment the husband have, and part of that is the idea of sheltering, protecting her during his lifetime, after his life. So if the wife testified that the husband died, and fine, so if that's the situation, she may go ahead and marry someone. But in addition to her right to marry someone else, she's also entitled to receive the amount of money that was committed in their ktubah, in the marriage contract, the same manner as a regular widow. So Beit Shammai hold the same way as the sages believe the surviving wife, in that sense, that her husband passed in regard to nullify the marriage, the same apply to a monetary issues. ובית הלל אומרים תינשא ולא תיטול כתובתה. It is okay for her to go ahead and marry, but that applies solely for the right to marry, but not when it's come to money. Why? We have a important line in the Torah, Deuteronomy 19, that tells us al pi shnayim edim yakum davar. In order to make a serious decision, for example, when it's come to monetary issue, you need to have two kosher witnesses. So, אמרו להם בית שמאי, היתרתם ערווה חמורה ולא נתיר ממון קל. So first let's understand בית הלל. בית הלל hold, if she's sincere and she wants to get married, it's nothing to do with money. She just wants to be released. Beit Shammai come in and said, wait a second, how do you compare a Isurei Arayot, the violation of something that the Torah called an abomination, such as in this case, it's a married woman, that she is just giving a witness, and taking her word, you allow her to go out and marry, versus Velo natir mamon akal, and you said no to what? To monetary matter, which is more lenient, because the money can be returned, and this sin does not entail such a severe punishment. Because if the husband is alive, her marriage is a violation of Isurei Erva that deserve capital punishment. Ktubah can be gezer, can be in a way stealing. But how do you compare? If you're trusting her with this issue, with really marriage eshet ish issue, and you don't trust her with the money, אמרו להם בית הלל, with Hillel responded and said, מצינו, we find, page 117, שאין האחים נכנסים לנחלה על פיה. Even they allow her to go ahead and marry, but when it's come to a law of inheritance, so the brothers, his brothers, does not come into the inheritance from the deceased brother based on her testimony. So what do you see from here? In one hand, you accepted her testimony when it's come to a cohabitation, but it's not when it's come to a monetary issue. as we said, when it's come to aginut, they are more lenient. When it's come to money, you need 2 witnesses. אמרו להם בית שמאי. So Beit Shammai respond to Beit Hillel. So they're not basically respond to what Beit Hillel said earlier. They just bring a new innovative way of understanding. And they said, V'halo misefer ktuba nilmod. If you dig in the language of the ktuba, the language of the ktuba contract, you can derive that she collected her marriage contract upon her testimony of the passing of her late husband. Shehu kotev la. Do you remember what it's written in the ketubah? Part of that ketubah, the marriage contract, it's written she'im tinas'i le'acher, meaning if something happened to me and I will not be around, you will be a widow. So if you go ahead and marry someone else, titli ma shekatuv leichi. Alright? When you be fitting to get married, meaning you don't have a zizika, the Bedin decided that her husband is definitely dead, and then she allowed to go ahead and marry, etc. So she entitled to receive the monetary, the amount that was committed in the ketubah. In those days, it was part of Shtart Nai, that's part of the ketubah. So some say that they erased that line, etc. But it's basically conditioned. That's the way the rabbis tell us. So here you see that even in the ketubah marriage contract, the husband depend all this the decision upon heter nisui, but here she allowed to go ahead and marry, just taking her word. וחזרו בתל להורות כדברי בית שמאי. So the big question, you mean because of the Kal Vachomer or because they have a new avenue? But anyway, a woman that said my husband passed, so she's not only entitled to receive the right to marry someone else, but she also entitled to receive the amount of money that was agreed upon in the time of ketubah. Right? The ketubah in general is it's more for the protection, but it's a part of the package deal. So we learn in the Mishnah that according to every view, even we receive and accepted a witness of a woman that said that the husband passed and she allowed to go ahead and marry someone else. But as far as they transfer the Yerusha, the inheritance from the late husband, when it's come to a property, to valuable monetary items, so we have an issue of trust when it's come to this. She's not accepted. So here we want to speak about the exceptions to that rule. Amar Rav Chizda said, Nitya b'ma, if it happens that, as we learn on page 114, the late husband passed without children, and she, the wife, surviving wife, testified that he's dead. Therefore, she is free, but basically if a husband passed with no children and there is a brother, the surviving brother can do a Levirate marriage with her. Yevama nichnas lenachala al piha. So the newly husband, which was the brother of the deceased, he entitled to a property of his late brother, meaning when you see a matter of kinus, which means a Levirate marriage, by those witnesses that say that his brother is dead. So as we learn in Mishnah on page 40, he entitled to do kinus Yevamah, the marriage to Yevamah, the same way entitled to a property. Hem darshu midrash ktuba, so they derive the language of the ktuba, and they say that the right of the wife in the money depend upon the heter nisuin. So therefore, we trusting her that the husband is no longer among the living in regards to marrying someone else, and therefore he is entitled of the marriage contract. Anu lo nidrosh midrash Torah. How much so that if we have to make rules by the language of the Ketubah contract, even its language that's by the people, by the rabbis, which is uncomparable to the sacred text of the Torah, Yakum al Shem Achiv Amar Rachmana. The Torah said clearly that this marriage in the Leviticus 25, the Yavam, the one who does that, he shall succeed in the name of the dead brother, which is interpreted by the sages as referring to the right of inheritance of the brother who consummated the Levirate marriage. So therefore they said, Vaharei kam. But you see that these many succeed with respect to marital relationship, as he consummate the Levirate marriage based on the testimony of his Yevamah that her husband died. So you see that he's basically taking over the belonging of his brother. Amar Rav Nachman bat lebeit din v'amra met bali yatiruni l'naseh. If the woman come and said, my husband passed, allow me to marry, matirin ota l'naseh, notnim la ktubta. They allow her to marry and give her the value of the ktubah contract. Tnu li ktubati. If she said, my husband passed, I want the money of my ketubah, it's not only you don't give her the ketubah, af l'naseh matirin ota, ma'ita ma'adat the ketubah. Guess what did they have in her mind? She wanted the money. The Chacham Tzvi, in a responsa, chapter 95, said that since she came to us mainly with the mindset of money, of the Ketubah contract, then we have a problem with the whole issue of trusting her. Allow me to marry, and I want the money of my Ketubah contract. How do you take it? You mean to say that she is just a money person? That she is very materialistic, and the only reason she come up with all of that is because she wants the money? Or you said, person come before the bediני, spell out all of his feeling, so therefore she care about marriage. By the way, she was talking, so she meant intim צלומר כל מיני שמרו לידינה תנו לי כתובתי ותראו נעשה מהו אחר ודאי לה דכתובה עתה או דילמה או לא ידע מה היא משתריה. So take all. So basically we left it unresolved. Next Mishnah we're going to explain based on the Meiri explanation that not only the surviving wife of the deceased we trust her word that the husband passed, but they also trust any other witnesses that come in. Hakol ne'emanin lehaida. Everyone is trustworthy to say that the husband is gone, even another woman or servant or maid servant or from other second hand. Chutz me, excluding the 5 category that they are not be accepted, we are figuring out that they dislike, to say the least, of the woman, and therefore we suspected that they are lying in order to ruin something. So as Rabbi Akiva Eger here elaborate on that it's usually said that there are 2 purposes of women to do it to others. Either because she hates her, she wants her to get divorced, or it's a act of revenge, etc., etc. So they said number one is Chamota, the mother of the husband. Why? Because she figured out, okay, this foreign woman is going to consume the money that my son inherited from my husband. Because that's basically the original money, the nedunya that I have when I got married. And now she's going to take it. Right? Ubat chamota. So Rashi said here, Eshet Yevama. Okay, let's read it and then read the Rashi. It's beautiful Rashi. Vetzarata, the co-wife, veivimta. So Rashi said, Eshet Yevama, ותמה דכולו מפני ששונאות אותה ומתכוונות לקלקלה. All this list is because they hate her, they despise her, they do it on purpose. Look how smart are the rabbis. חמותה, the mother-in-law, שונאתה, she hates her. שאומרת בליבה, זאת תאכל כל יגעי ועמלי, she's going to consume all my labor of life. וכן בת חמותה, אומרת, זאת תירש כל עמל אבלי ועמלי ואני אדחה, ואם איתה יראה שמה סופה להיות צרתה ובת בעלה זו באה במקום עמי אוכלת כל עמלה. So they're afraid that she's coming in. Imagine she married this man 1 or 2 years, let's the language of exaggeration, several months, and now she's going to inherit everything. ובת בעלה, alright, the step daughter, because she feels that she is like came over instead of the mother, the first wife of the father, and she eats all of her labor. Ma ben get lemita. What's the difference between the witnesses of these 5 category of women in regards to a get to the regard of the testimony with the passing of the late husband? So why we trust them when they get and we don't trust in this? She'aktav mochiach, which means that the language, the writing proves the accuracy of the testimony, which means her testimony is supported by the text of the document in itself, whereas with regard to the death of her husband, there is no proof apart from the statement of the woman herself. Ibayalu bat chamia mar. So the Mishnah gave us the list of those specific category of women. We have an issue of trust. For example, the daughter of the mother-in-law. So now we're going to deal with a very sensitive issue, which is the family dynamics. Let me share with you a story, and then we go to the Gemara itself. There's a mother that came to one of the Rabbanim, and she said, look, my son went off the derech, off the path. He went to some place in Thailand, and I didn't hear from him for many months. Left everything, and she was totally brokenhearted. So the rabbi, who's old-time sage, he said to her, I have a creative solution for you. He said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit every single day and write a letter to him. Expresses your feeling, your love to him. Just sit and write a letter. And you should do that every single day. So she was like shocked and amazed by this advice, but she followed up, she did it. She came about 2 months later and she said, I can't believe that. The son called me. He said when they have a burning of the chametz, he burned all these old books and the clothing that he bought, whatever it is, in those places in the Far East. And she said he came back, and I told him, there are certain rules in this house. And he said, I don't know why, but since 2 months ago, every single day, I feel like you're talking to me, etc., and he came back. Why I'm saying that? It's because King Solomon, the famous ancient King Solomon said, Kemaim apanim el apanim. The same way as you look at the mirror, that's the reflection you get. If you're walking at your walk with a sour face, that's the reaction. If you are smiling to people and nice to people, that's the way people are reacting to you. Here we're dealing with a very serious interdynamic issue, which is the in-laws. Sticking her nose, she's sometimes instigating the son against his wife. She doesn't know how to bake, she doesn't know how to do things, right? Etc., etc. And here we're dealing with a trust when it's come to saying that the husband is no longer among the living. Another phase we need to remember before we go to this Gemara is something we studied, if you remember, not long ago, the difference between Nichsei Tzon Barzel and Nichsei Milog. Nichsei Tzon Barzel, meaning when a couple got married, especially in the late of life, she's bringing some property or some values with her. Nichsei Tzon Barzel, meaning properties that have always positive appreciation. It is a permanent property that the husband, by the Torah law, has the right only to possess the interest, while the principal remain the same value, regardless to the value of the property in her domain, no matter what happened, the interdynamic between them. Marriage, divorce, widow, it's all stay the same value in her, under her domain. Versus Nichsei Milog, which is the appreciation. For example, the fruits, the vegetables, whatever it is that the property have producing, can be on a daily basis, can be stock, can be anything that has a metaltelin or anything that it's bringing a daily income, or it can be in exchange of fruits. All of this, it's transferred to his domain, meaning they are basically in our modern days value, it's like the sharing, but he has the control over that. So here is the issue. As we said, we have a list of distrust because of the interdynamic in the family. Ibaya lehu bat chamia mahu. How you treated a daughter of the in-law, of the father-in-law, that she is not the daughter of the mother-in-law, which means that she is the sister of the husband from the father and not from the mother. So that's the way Rashi tells us. In order for us to visualize, we are going to use the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis, the story of our ancestor Yaakov, Jacob. So as we remember the story, Jacob had two wives, Rachel and Leah, who's the daughter of Lavan. Leah has the sons with Yaakov, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and the daughter Dinah. Yehuda married Batshua. The sons of Rachel, Yosef and Binyamin, Joseph and Benjamin. Yosef married Osnat, meaning Dinah, she is the daughter of the father-in-law, which is Yaakov, of Osnat, and not the daughter of the in-law, mother-in-law, which is Rachel. So here is the question: do we take her word when she said, she come before a Bini court and she said to Osnat that her husband Yosef is no longer among the living, because in the language of the Mishnah it's written only the psul, the disqualification of the daughter of the in-law, such as if Dinah bring a witness of the daughter of Shua over the passing of Yehuda. So they said, Ma'utama de bat chamuta, the reason that we are dealing with the daughter of the in-law, that because mishum de ika ima de sanya lei, the beauty of the language in Gemara is they tell you the way it is, which is they use the term hatred, meaning there is some type of animosity between the mother, the in-law, since the mother didn't like her, the daughter didn't like her as well. That's the painful reality of life, as the rabbis tells us, that sometimes the in-law say things that they put in the heart of a daughter, perpetuate that hatred toward the daughter-in-law, right? Even in a circumstance that the mother of the husband, the mother-in-law of the husband passed away before he married his wife, but the daughter of the in-law, she again, according to our Mishnah, she is not trustworthy to bring a witness because there is a background of hatred. V'ha ima desanyanle. Verses here in our discussion, in regard to a daughter of the in-laws, the daughter doesn't have any bad feeling, any hatred toward the wife of the brother, because the mother of this daughter, it's not the in-law of the wife. So therefore, she doesn't carry any animosity toward her. That's one avenue. Or Dilma, you can go the other way around and say, Ta'ama devat chamota, the amra, the reason that the daughter of the in-law dislike her, it's because the mother-in-law say, Ka'achla legirsena de'ima. Here is the interdynamic. The husband left money. And as we know, the worst feud is the family feud. Here, in a way, just let's use the language of exaggeration, that the marriage between the couple was relatively short. Now she feels that she gets all this money, that the husband works so hard, right? And she feels that, or it's happened even earlier. She feels that whenever that happened, she's going to get all the money that our mother brought when she got married to Dad, which means the mother brought nichsei tzon barzel. Remember those definitions? And she brought nichsei milog, both. And she works for a long time, inherited. She brought it to her father. Now the other one came in, and she feels that soon she's going to take all that money. Look what Rashi tells us. Rashi is like so clear and amazing in the language. It's always amazed me the expression. He said as follows: "V'hachanami, afal gav dehi lo achla legirsena deima, sharei en ba'ala shel zo achia minahem, uvnei ima notli ma she'evia ima." Because they said in the Ktubot, part of the Ktubah, in Tractate Yevamot 52, Bnin dichrin diavin leichi minayu, inun yartun kesef ktubatech, yater al chulkehon diimachuhon. Afilu achea ka'achla legirsana deve'nase v'sanyale. It's the animosity and the mindset. It's like, you see how the rabbis go deeper. Because she basically said that the daughter of the father-in-law, she eats the food of my father's house. Achla legirsna deveina shai. She is going, this woman, she is caring for the money, she can't wait to get the money, as all the labor of my dad, when my brother inherited the father. So why are we saying all of that? Because we have a discussion over the trust. And you said, because there is a lot of friction and mistrust, we cannot take her words of saying that he is no longer among the living. Now we try to reconcile this predicament. We said Tashma. We bring some re'ayah, some proof from our Mishnah. Hakol ne'emanim leha'ida. So all are deemed credible when they come to testify with regard to her For who? חוץ מחמש נשים, excluding the 5 women that we mentioned in the Mishnah. As we said, because of the interdynamic in the family. Good morning. Ve'im ita, if you tell me that also the daughter of the in-law, she's not trust, shit havyan. So guess what happened? You don't have 5, you have 6. Because the hatred of the in-law came from the mother, and that's not applied to the daughter of the in-law of the wife. So the reality is that also the daughter of in-law is not in trust. So the Gemara said, Dilma tama de bat chamota dekamra ka'achla legirsana de veinashai lo shna bat chamota velo shna bat avia. The idea is that since the 2 women are disqualified for the same reason, the sages did not list these as 2 separate cases. So how you wrap it up? So we did not reconcile the issue of Bat Chamia. The Riv, the Rosh, the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, they just put the way that the Mishnah said, the Bat Chamota. The Pitrei Tshuva in Even HaEzer 17, he said that no, that it's a separate category. But to wrap it up, because as we said, there is the issue of family dynamics. The in-law didn't like the daughter-in-law, and she said all kind of things about her, and the daughter-in-law feels that she instigating her husband against her, and then the daughter of the in-law hearing that, and because the mother poisoned her, she didn't like her. Gilbert, you look at me like I'm from Mars, right? Is there reality of life or not?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now we're going further, because we talk here about these specific women that we cannot trust. Meaning when they come and say the husband is gone, we suspected that is something going on. That it's come out of some certain hatred or even bigotry, and it's not the reality. V'hatanya, they are all trust to say that the husband is gone, chutz misheva nashim. You see a different braita that said that that it's not 5, apart from 7 women who are not trustworthy. So apparently that Tana added the daughter of her father-in-law as a separate category. So they said, Hahi, the response of the Gemara is Rabbi Yudai, the Tanya. Rabbi Yuda mosif af eshet av v'hakala. Rabbi Yuda add to those category of distrust, especially when it's come to this sensitive issue, which releasing someone and say that she's a widow, also the wife of the father, which means the stepmother, and here the wife of the son, the in-law. Amrulo, the sages respond to him and said, why you need to add these 2 to the list of 5 the Mishnah tells us? Eshet av arei hi bichlal bat haba'al, kala harei bichlal chamota. A father's wife is included in the category of the husband's daughter, while daughter-in-law is included in a category of her mother-in-law. So what you said, just the same way as you talk about mother-in-law is suspicious of her daughter-in-law, the daughter-in-law is equally suspicious of her mother-in-law, and you don't need to list them in a separate way. It's all included. So Rabbi Yuda said, Rabbi Yuda, Bishlama chamota san yala lakala. If you talk about the in-law, she dislike the daughter-in-law. Why? דאמרה כאכלה לגרסני. This woman, this meaning the daughter-in-law, guess what's going to happen? As we said, she's going to eat the labor that I brought. Again, let's make sure that we all understand. A couple got married. And the reality of marriage, many times, one party brings a lot of things. In our case, the woman either inherited or worked hard during her youth, and she brought a lot of properties. Some of them are nichsei tzon barzel, which means it's remain in her domain. The husband only can take the interest. Some of them nichsei milog, which is a constant value, like a store, like a fruits, like something that the husband can have a control because it can be in exchange. The compensation of that value in case of divorce or death is very different. Nichsei tzon barzel, she have to receive the same value as the original, meaning market value, versus nichsei milog, he doesn't have that responsibility. He is like in a way in charge. The problem is the daughters feel, look, the same in the in-law. My mom bought all this wealth when she married dad. This daughter-in-law come in and she is about to take all of our money, right? So therefore, when she come before the court and testified that he's gone, we ask a question if you can take her word as word, since there is a friction, since the issue in before of family feud, of family dynamic. And you see the language here, which to me it's amazing. They use constantly the word sanya. It's like in Hebrew lisno, hatred. ורבי יהודה בישלמה חמותה סניה לה לכלה. We understand that these dynamics sometimes that the in-law hates the daughter-in-law. They don't use the word dislike, they use the word hate. דקאמרה כאכלה לגרסני. This daughter-in-law, it's in the future going to eat my labor. I brought from my father's house the inheritance to my husband when her husband, which is my son, is going to inherit it. And guess what's going to happen? She's going to get all the money. אלא כלה מהייתה משניה לחמותה. So why the daughter-in-law hates the mother-in-law, right? So she's not going to inherit her. So they said, Bishlama bat abal, desanya le'eshet ha'av. If you tell me that the daughter-in-law, the husband-daughter, that she hates her father's wife, the amra ka'achla legirsenei de'em, as she says, this woman eats the food of my mother prepared. Ela eshet ha'av, but the father's wife, ma'ita masanya levat abal. Why, you tell me, what's the reason that she hates her husband's daughter? Ela. So if you follow the way that you tell us, that Rabbi Yehuda did not see a reason why the daughter-in-law hates the mother-in-law, or the hatred between the wife of the father toward the daughter of the husband.
Stepdaughter, right?
Stepfather. So, my mosif tartei, why Rabbi Yehuda added these two women to the list of those women that disqualified, witnessing that the husband is gone. Quite the contrary, they should be trustworthy. So the Gemara said, Ela, Rabbi Yehuda said, Kala, amen. Kala maitama sanya lachamota. Do you know why it happens that the daughter-in-law hates the mother-in-law? Dem gala lefna kol de'avda. So she goes to the son whenever they're alone, and she said, you know, your wife, she doesn't know how to cook, she doesn't know how to take care of the children, she's not neat, all kind of things she instigating. Anything she find negative in a daughter-in-law, she said to her son. So when the son repeats something that he heard from his mother, either doing his day, or when he's mad, or he wake up at the middle of the night and says things. When she keep hearing that, guess what's going to happen? She most probably is not going to like her mother-in-law. So they said the same reason, Eishet Av Nami Sanya Levat Baal. The wife of the stepfather, she also hates the daughter of the husband. Why? Demgala leavia kol deavda. Oh, daddy, she's not here. This woman, they enter to your life. You know what she does? She marry your credit card. She marry your bank account. You know why she's with you? She wants your money. Do you know anybody like that? So
she's barely older than I am, and you married her. Sorry. Sorry.
So it means that the hatred of the daughter-in-law and the wife of the father is a different background than the hatred between the in-law and the daughter of the husband. As you see, there is a different background, different stories. Therefore, you see here why the Mishnah not included them in the list, and why Rabbi Yehuda, the Ritva said, needs to add them. So now the Gemara elaborates on that and tells us what exactly the view of the majority of the sages who hold that the stepmother, the wife of the father, and the in-law, the daughter-in-law, it's part of what's the Mishnah included the daughter of the husband and the in-laws. V'Rabbanan, and the sages that hold that the hatred between the wife of the father and the daughter-in-law to the daughter of the husband or the in-law, this is a source from the book of Proverbs. King Solomon tells us in Mishlei 27, Kamayim apanim lapanim, כלב האדם לאדם. Right? Is the water face answers to face, so the heart of man to man. Remember the story of the mother with the letters? That's the story. The same way. You smile, you walk out to your working place, you go to school, you go to places, house of worship, you're smiling. So people smile to you. If you dislike them, it goes both ways. Right? That's the heart of people. So if a person, like you remember the story of the mother and the son, if you express you love despite all those challenges, so the others love you as well. If you're hated, let's go both ways. So here the same story, since the in-law hated her daughter-in-law, what's the background? Because she feels she is out there to take her money after she's gone. So therefore the in-law also hated her as well. And the same way as the daughter of the husband hates the wife, the stepmother, because she feels that she's out there to use his credit card, that she marry him for his bank account. So the wife, the wife of the father, she also expresses her hatred toward her stepdaughter. The daughter, the wife, the wife of the daughter, the wife of the son. So therefore, why we say all of that? We do not need to add the daughter-in-law and the stepmother, the wife of the father, to the list of those who disqualified to testify of the passing of the husband, because this is part, Rashi said, of the list of the Mishnah. Now, Rabbi Akiva Iger added to that another phase, which show how wise are our rabbis. He said that, when sometimes if you go that by the Mishlei, the way that they have a reflection between the two, sometimes the hatred, the bigotry is so deep that she can go ahead and she do something that, like Samson, right? That she know that she's going to ruin herself too, but she does that just because of like getting back and
take him down with me.
What?
Take him down with me.
Taking down with me as a...
Yeah.
That's the story. So it's just sometimes a pure revenge.
Yeah.
Pure revenge with nothing else. No gain whatsoever. It's like you hear sometimes, Baruch Hashem, I'm not involved in the Beis Din, but you hear sometimes cases of people, how they behave when it's come to the divorce cases, that sometimes she ruined his business, he ruined her, or whatever it is, both losing their home, the lawyers take everything, the government takes everything, and he or she said, I don't mind to do it as long as I pay the other one back. I'll be poor and he will be poor, or vice versa, but I'm going to ruin both. We're going down both. So that's the painful subject. So Rabbi Yehuda responded to that and he said, Rabbi Yehuda hahi bedivrei Torah ktiv. So Rabbi Yehuda said, that pasuk, that verse, it was written in a Torah, so it means that the more one studies Torah, the more Torah is understands. So it means the same way as when we said a reflection, the mirror, right, the water, reflected back to you, the same way applies to study of Torah. You're investing your heart, your labor, your sweat in the Torah, and you see the reflection of a person's heart. So the idea is, the labor of Torah is you have to study and repeat and study and repeat and again, right? So the same here, but he said, when it's come to there is a pasuk, it said, Tachlit Sina Sne'etim. The idea here, any times, the school of thought is, when you see a separate category, like the Mishnah bring us the 5 category, you can use a one title and it's applied to everyone. But the goal, the Rabbi Akiva Iger tells us, is that each and every one of them has a different background of the hatred, a different mindset, a different goal and objective for that. So since it's a different background, we put it in a separate category. But if it's all the same idea, you don't need to go to more than 5. Okay? So now the Gemara said, Amar Rav Acha bar Avya, by the Ma'arava. Since the in-law is one of the disqualified women to testify before the rabbinic court over the passing of the husband, right? Because as we said, she is nogea, she have some background to do it. So B'Ma'arava meaning the west of Babylon, which is Eretz Israel. It's a south of Babylon. Meant west.
Yeah.
So Chamota Haba'a Le'achar Miken. So if you have a mother-in-law who comes afterward, which means she's not yet her in-law, but she have the potential to be in-law in the future. Meaning the mother of the Yavam, the one who potentially Levirate married that woman, which means the mother of the brother of the husband from the father, that in a case of Levirate marriage of ייבום, she will turn to be her in-law. That's the way Rashi tells us, for example, as we said, that the sons of Yaakov, the Jacob, right, in the book of Bereshit. So Rachel, she is not yet the mother-in-law of Bat Shua, the wife of Yehuda, but she has the potential to be the in-law if Yehuda pass with no children, and Bat Shua has a ייבום, has Levirate marriage to Yosef. So Mahu, is she qualified? We trust her edut, her testimony, that the husband is gone for the purpose of the future daughter-in-law. So the Gemara elaborate on that predicament. They said, Mi maska adata demidbar venafla kamei yavam. Does it enter her mind that if this woman's husband died, the widow will happen before the Yavam, her son, for Levirate marriage? As what? Vesanya lei. And as the widow, when she then marry her son, will eat her food, so she hates her already, or lo, or not. So, meaning, is she have in her mind already in advance, right, a future plan? The husband of that woman is going to pass, and therefore she will fall for Levirate marriage for ייבום before the Avam, which is her son, meaning in the future she will be her daughter-in-law, and therefore already now she dislikes her, she hates her. So therefore we suspected that she is going to give an untruthful testimony that the husband is gone, in order to make sure that she will not have a matter of ייבום to her son. Or you said to, it's so far-fetched, it's so rachok, it's so far in the thinking that you can't say that she hates her in that level, and you can take her testimony as is. 117b, Tashma, Amra met Bali, ואחר כך met Chami. So again, Rabbi Akiva Iger here have a concept which we call Sfek Sfeika Mithapech. You have a quandary, you have a predicament, and within that you have another dilemma. So first let's see the pshat, the way it's written. So this is a source from some place that we're going to study the next daf, the next page, 118. She went overseas with the husband and the in-law, and she returned and she said, "Ve'amra met ba'ali, ve'achar kach met chami." She says, my husband is gone, and then my father-in-law. So it means, according to her word, both she and the in-law allowed to remarry. Tinase, she allowed to get married. Vetitol ktuba, she can entitle to the monetary payment on the marriage contract just by giving the testimony as is. Vachamota asura, but the in-law is prohibited. Why? Because you have here two separate lines of testimony. One, it's the passing of the husband. One, the passing of the in-law. So, the relationship between her and the mother of her husband is two different avenues. How? My Tama, what's the reason she is only trust for herself? Chamota asura. So, meaning, when you have an in-law, she is disqualified to give a testimony over her in-law. Why? Lav mishum de amrinan, lo ba'ala mayet velo chamiya mayet. So meaning, if we know unequivocally, clearly, by these witnesses, that it is true that the husband of the daughter-in-law is gone, so she will be trustworthy to give a testimony that the husband of her former in-law passed. But here, the only way to hear about the passing of the husband of her in-law is by her words. But we said for herself, we take her word, and she can go and marry. But the in-law, that's a different story. We are concerned that may happen that even the husband of this in-law is still alive, and it's still, the Ritva tells us, interdynamic of hatred between the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law. That's the way also Tosfot said. Tosfot ended by saying, "V'nimtzet she'asra et chamota," that she can put a boundary on purpose. She's pre-printed to pay back to her in-law. So the sages, ולכך לא רצו חכמים להתירה, אפילו כשתינשא הכלה. Even the daughter-in-law get married, the sages still have a concern. והדק אמרה אחי. So why she does all of that? As we said, לקלקולה לחמותה ודמיקבנה. You know what she meant to do? She does that because she said this statement that she is intent to ruin her mother-in-law, She wanted her mother-in-law to marry someone while she is in violation, and she does that because she hates her. So she set her up in that way. How? She does that by giving a testimony. Why she does that? Because the daughter-in-law carries a bad feeling for a long time, since the mother-in-law, she heard from her husband bad-mouthing her. So now she paying her back by marrying in the illegal way, and that's the setup plan. So this applies even the son is alive. But if he is far away, if he's now in China, right, and his mother-in-law, her mother-in-law is not there to badmouth her, so the סברה לבטר שעתה לא תתן תצטערן. You know why she's doing that? Because she figured out when my husband will come back, which is her son, when he comes back from China, right? She will not come back to keep torture me, right? By bad-mouthing me to my husbands, right? Why? Because I'm going to ruin her reputation. I'm going to put her in a violation by marrying someone that she is prohibited to marry. And then I created such a situation that she will leave me alone. Right? So therefore, as Rashi tells us, that this type of interdynamic between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law creates sometimes just the manner of revenge, just for the purpose of that itself. So in general, the daughter-in-law doesn't mean to hurt her mother-in-law, just to behave like that. But especially since she's not in the house anymore, right? She's far away. But the issue here, if she does that, is a set up plan to be secure in the future, it's a concern. Rabbi Akiva Iger in particular hold that it's a serious concern. That, for example, if she feels that she, for the rest of her life, keep bad-mouthing her, so it can be regardless of the location the husband is now. So the Gemara rejected and said, Dilma shane atam deragish leitzara. It's difficult there because the daughter-in-law has already felt oppressed by her mother-in-law. She is suspected of lying because she had previous dealing with that woman. So it's a future mother-in-law. She's no previous dealing. There is no concern. So what you see here, the dilemma cannot be resolved by this case. So it's a lot of discussion. The Baal HaMaor, the Rif, the Rambam. It's a lot of discussion how far you go in that. Is that Safek the Rabbanan or not? But in short, you see how the rabbi treated. Again, there are some poskim like Rabbi Akiva Iger hold and others that it's all entered the domain of biblical violations, while others like the Rambam and the Rif said that it's rabbinic. Now, we're dealing with another painful subject, which is a conflicted witnesses in regard to a passing of a husband. And this, we're dealing now not just with hearsay evidence, but in cross-examination during the court session. Ed Omer met, veniset. One witness said the husband is gone. And as we said, you remember what we said all the time? That in those cases, we want to release those broken-hearted, deserted wife, agunot. So we even take one witness, and we said, fine, she's released, she can go and marry someone, okay? So you have here one witness that come to us and said, the husband is gone. However, uba echad ve'amar, no, it's another witness come later, and guess what he said? Lo met. It's not true, he's not gone. How that can happen? Imagine, for example, they go to a trip to South America, right? They go to Amazonas. And one guy come back and said he's gone. Another guy come back and said no. So what happened? The Bediin originally said to her, since they heard one witness that testified and said that he's gone, they allow her to marry the second one. Now the second man came before the Bediin and said he's not gone. So do you ask her to divorce the second one? Obviously, on the surface, it's not, because she get a heter Bediin. The Bediin allow her to go and marry, right, by the first testimony. Ed Omer met, Ushnayim Omrim Lo met. One person, as we said he's gone. And later you have two men. Two people come in to our Bediin and said, no, he's not gone. Af al pi sheniset teitzeh. Even we allow her originally to marry the second man, right? But when you compare one witness versus two, so she basically bechezkat eshet ish. She's in a domain that is potentially a married woman. So by the rabbinic law, if you remember when we study page 87b, the rabbis put the rules that she needs to receive a get from the second man. Shnayim omrim met. If two people come before the rabbinic court, good morning Elliot, two people come before rabbinic court and said, met, ve'ed omer lo met. So we have already two, al pi shnayim edim yakum davar, right Elliot? Yeah. So you have two, and then you have another ed, another witness that said he's not gone. Af al pi shelo niset tinaseh. Even though she did not yet marry, she may marry, even lechatchila. Tama deniset. So the reason that the Mishnah said that you do not accept the second witness, that the husband is not gone, because she's already married. Haloni said, if even the Bet Din told her after the testimony of the first witness that she is okay to go and marry someone, and meanwhile she did not marry anyone, right? She's just maybe dating, etc. And now all of a sudden another person come before the Bediin and said the husband is not gone. So here we said Lo tinaseh. So she is now back to old business. She cannot get married. Ve'amar Ula. How come? Ula tells us Kol makom she'mina ed Torah ed echad harei kan shnayim. We said, and that's something we already learned in page 88, that the moment we said, okay, we're accepting one witness, so it's no different between two and one as long as we said that we're accepting that. So it means in short that the qualification, the strength, the acceptance of one or two is no difference in that sense as long as you're accepting it. So therefore, in the circumstance of our Mishnah, since we already said that the first witness was accepted, and we allow her to go and marry, we accepted the idea that he's gone, so he is basically the same as two witnesses. And the one who came afterward and said he's not gone, it's only one in that sense. So it's like 2 versus 1. ואין דבריו של אחד במקום שניים. So you cannot go 1 against 2. And it's not just against 1. The first one is equivalent to 2. So meaning that this woman allowed to get married even after the Ed Akhasha, the second witness, come in and refute the previous one. So the Gemara said, Hachi Amar. You know what the Mishnah meant to say? Ed Echad Omer Met. One witness said, he is gone. Vehetirua le'inaseh, and the Bet didn't allow her to go ahead and marry. Uba Echad ve'amar lo met. And someone came and said, he's not gone. Lo teitzeh mehetera rishon. It doesn't mean in a simple literal sense that she's really married and she doesn't need to get out of the second marriage. It means that the Bet didn't allow her to marry, and that heter, that permissive state, it stayed, and she can go ahead and marry. Why? Because you accepted the first witness originally, the one who said that the husband is gone. Therefore, it's the same as 2, even it was 1, because we're accepting that. And the second, as Ula tells us, cannot refute the previous one. Mishnah tells us, Ed Omer Met. One person said he's gone, and 2 came afterward and said he's not. Pshita, then Varav Shel Echad B'mkom Shtayim. You have 2 that refute the one, so why the Mishnah needs to tell us? It's so obvious. Lo tzricha bepsulei edut. All right, here's a different story. You have a witness that comes, and we rule by that testimony. And now you have 2, but this is one of the cases that we do accept it. For example, slaves, women, and those who are usually, by the qualification of the Torah, are not accepted. But as we said so many times, when it's come to release deserted wife, we're accepting them. So here the issue is that the 2 refuted the 1, and the 2 are in general in any other court system, in any other testimony, are not qualified. So here, the big chidush, the big innovative part of the Mishnah, that here they have the capability of the second pair to annul, to expunge, to abrogate it, the previous witness of the first one, Uch de Rabbi Nechemia. The Tanya, Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Kol makom she'emin Torah ed echad, any place the Torah accepted one witness, halech achar rov deor. Okay, go by the majority. Ve'asu shtei nashim be'ish echad, ki shnei anashim be'ish echad. So we basically treated 2 women against 1 man, versus in the case involving 2 women against 1 man, the letter of whom is qualified witness, it's like against half. They are equal. So the testimony of 2 women has no advantage over that of 1 male witness, who is considered like 2 witnesses' testimony concerning a missing husband. Next one, we say that V'ba'it Eima, it's another option. Kol heicha de'ata ed echad kasher me'ikara. If you have 1 qualified witness came and testified that he's died, afilu me'anashim ke'ed echad amyam. Even 100 women came and contradicted his count, it's considered like 1 witness. Cannot negate this testimony. אלא כגון דעתי אישה מעיקרה. So it's where the woman came initially, and they relied on her testimony to release the wife. And afterward, 2 other women came and contradicted her. ותרצה לרבי נחמיה הכי. And that's the way we explain Rabbi Nehemiah's view. רבי נחמיה אומר, כל מקום שאם תורה דעת אחד עליך אחר רוב דעות, ועשו שתי נשים כאישה אחת כשני נשים באיש אחד, ושתי נשים באיש אחד כפלגה ופלגה דמי. So as we said, that in a case involving two women against one man, it's like a half against half. שניים אומרים, מאי כמה שמלן דפסולי עדות לך בנחמיה, עד הזה בתר רוב דעות היינו אח, the same thing, that if he died, and one witness said he did not die, even if she did not yet marry, she may marry. So he said that Ma'od Tema, you may think, Ki azlilun batar rov deot lechumra. We go by the majority of the opinion only if it's lead to stringencies, like the circumstance we said that two said that he's not died, and we hold that she's released. Aval lekula, but when it's come to leniency law, so kamash melan, so the Tana and the last clause tells us that you go by the majority even in leniency, and you allow her to get married.
I have a question, Rabbi.
Yes.
And just based on what you said, that we go the majority no matter what. If you have a situation, for example, where you had two witnesses that saw someone, they said this person had died, and they saw him, they appeared to be dead, they both saw him, and then another person came along later on and realized that they were wrong, that they thought he was dead, but he wasn't, and he turned out that he was alive. So then he comes back and he says, you know, even though there's two witnesses, you saw what you saw. He looked like he was dead, and that's, you know, they gave the correct testimony, but then he came afterwards and said, you know, actually, you know, the person was, you know, in a deep coma and they got better. I mean, for example.
There's a Gemarrah in Tlumod that have a discussion over that. In very general, because we're not yet in practical thought. There is a concept that said, "En ladavar sof." If you start going that way, so you always can have people who come back and challenge the previous one. The key is how far you go with that. In a very, very general statement, we just said that even one witness that considering as two, in some cases, that's already a permanent decision.
Right.
So in a serious cases, for example, if the husband come back, it can be, for example, that the bedin give her a heter, and she released, and the husband came back later, and it's in some cases it's not even an issue of mamzerut, and it's not even an issue because again, as long as it's clear to us that she's totally innocent and followed the instruction of the Beit Din.
So once the Beit Din's made the ruling, then because they made the decision.
אין הדיין דן, אלא לפי מה שעיניו רואות. They go by what they see at that very moment.
So the man would come back, they would see him.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I was even thinking just in the case of one witness, you know, and especially in the situation where they're not disputing the eyewitness testimony of the other witnesses. Right. They're just saying, you know, you guys weren't there long enough.
Morning, Dr.
That's
Friedman.
all. So anyway, thank you.
So the Mishnah also dealing with a contradicted of witnesses over the passing of the husband. You have two rival wives that go with the joint husband overseas, and when they return, it's an issue. Achat omeret met, v'achat omeret lo met. One said he's gone, the other one said he's not. זו שאומרת מת תינשא ותיטול כתובתה, וזאת שאומרת לא מת לא תינשא ולא תיטול כתובה. So one that said he's gone, she can go ahead and marry and collected the marriage contract, and the other one not. צרה, later the Gemarrah explained, צרה אחת אומרת מת ואחת אומרת נהרג. One said, the rival, the co, said that he's dead, the other one natural death, the other one said he get killed. Reb Meir אומר, הואיל מכחישות זו זו, הרי אלו לא ינסו. Reb Meir said, since it's a disputation between the two, so they should not get married. רבי יהודה ורבי שמעון אומרים, הואיל וזו וזו מודות שאין קיים, ינסו. Since there is one point logically that both agree that he's gone, so therefore it's not the issue that both can get married, because both of them said that he's gone. The only question is the circumstance, how, the process of how he's gone. The last one, Ed Omer met, ve'ed Omer lo met. one kosher witness said that the husband is gone, and before the bed didn't have enough time to release the wife, another witness come in and said he's not gone. So 118, אישה אומרת מת, ואישה אומרת לא מת, הרי זו לא תינשא. So we said that one woman said that he died, another woman said he did not die. This woman may not marry. So the Gemara said, Tama de amra lo met, ha'ishteka, but if she display equanimity, right, she acquiesce, tinaseh. Ha'en tzara mida lechaverta. We said earlier that a rival wife may not testify on behalf of her other. So you see here, how can she rely on the testimony of her rival wife? So they said, lo met itztricha lei. The reason that the other one said he's not dead, because she wants to ruin the other one, because they are rival. ותמות נפשיים פלישתים כאמרה. So it's like the Samson, remember that story? That said, let me die with the Philistines. Which is a shortened expression for one's desire to hurt his enemies, even if he suffers the same fate himself. So, so therefore, we learn, the teacher as Kamash Melan, that is not the case. She is not permitted to marry based on the testimony of her rival wife.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי